Good evening. I'm Coach Robinson, and this is the eighth grade mathematical curriculum course. Today's lesson will be based on the order of operations. The order of operations is pretty much described as PEMDAS, which typically stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. Okay? Or please end my day early at school, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sandra. Okay? But either way, PEMDAS stands for parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, and subtraction. They're going to put problems together and cause you to remember the order of operation when solving them. So it's very important to notate the difference. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the M and the D because there are certain rules that you have to know when you're doing order of operation, and we'll get into it a little later. Sometimes division comes before multiplication, and if you don't know the rule, you'll throw the whole entire problem off. So we're going to typically solve what's ever in the parentheses first. So I'm going to highlight the P for now, and I'm going to show you guys different scenarios where the parentheses may change the operation of a problem. Let's say we have 3 squared, then in parentheses a negative 3 squared, and then 3 squared, negative 3 squared. You have to be able to distinguish the differences between these three. They're not the same. We know 3 squared is 9. Now, negative 3 squared in parentheses is just like saying negative 3 times negative 3. And we know the rules from the previous lessons. Anytime you multiply two negative numbers, it's a positive number. So negative 3 squared in parentheses equals positive 9. Okay? Now, negative 3 squared is pretty much like saying negative 3 times 3, which we know negative 3 times 3 is a negative 9. So know the differences between these whenever you're dealing with parentheses. So now I'm going to provide a scenario where exponent is used, the E. Now that's typically in a problem that'll look like this. We put 3 plus 5 in the parentheses times 2 squared. Now, according to the order of operation, we will have to do what's in the parentheses first, even though it says addition. Down here, we typically got to start with whatever is in the parentheses. So it doesn't matter if this is an addition problem or not. You always handle what's in the parentheses first. So we know that 3 plus 5 is 8. Now, we have this 8 squared. The next operation is the exponent, right? So 8 squared is 64. And now, finally, we're going to multiply by 2. And 64 times 2 is 128. Beginning of the lesson, I highlighted the M and D standing for multiply and division. And I told y'all sometimes, depending on what comes first, you may have to switch up the rule. And the problem, let's say we have 18 divided by 3 times 4. And I'm going to write the same problem over here. 18 divided by 3 times 4. So now, according to the order of operation, you're supposed to multiply before you divide, right? But in some cases, if you do that, you may not get the right answer according to the calculator. So these problems are typically the only time where it's okay to use a calculator to check the verification of not only the answer, but your order of operation. So according to the order of operation, if we wanted to multiply first, if we multiplied 3 times 4 and got 12 and divided that by 18, well then 18 divided by 12 is like 1.2, something like that, right? So we know this wouldn't be the correct answer. So I showed y'all this example so y'all won't confuse yourselves. if it's ever division before multiplication, you have to work the problem from left to right. That's the only way you'll get the answer. So if we do 18 divided by 3, which is 6, and then times that by 4, the answer would be 24. And this is the right answer according to the calculators. So sometimes you may see division and it may come before multiplication. If you do see that, it's okay. Just divide first and work the problem from left to right, okay? 24 is the final answer. I'll show you a scenario where multiplication will come before division. And anytime multiplication comes before division in the order of operation, it doesn't matter which order you do it, it'll still pan out the same. So the problem, 12 times 6 divided by 2. And then I'm gonna write it over here as well. 12 times 6 divided by 2. Okay, well, according to the order of operation, we have to multiply before we divide, right? So we know 12 times 6 is 72. And 72 divided by 2 is 36. So now let's say if we wanted to divide first, you have that option as well. Because 6 divided by 2 is 3. And if you drop your 12 times 3 is 36. So you'll get the same answer. So whenever multiplication comes before division, it's okay. It don't matter which order you do it. The only problem is whenever division becomes before multiplication, you have to do the division first and work the problem from left to right. And if you remember that, you'll never get it wrong. Let's do this problem. We have 8 plus 9 times 6. So now, according to the order of operation, we are supposed to multiply before we add, right? Now, even though the addition is first, okay, the multiplication is still the heavier priority. So in a situation like this, you want to multiply first. So 9 times 6 is 54. You want to drop your 8. 54 plus 8 is 62. Okay? So sometimes even if addition comes first, you still want to multiply first to get the order of operation. Another example. I'm going to do 16, pardon my marker, minus 14 divided by 2. Now, what does this equal? According to the order of operation, division comes before subtraction. So even though it's backwards, you still want to handle the operation. You still want to divide before you subtract, right? So 14 divided by 2 is 7. And drop your 16. 16 minus 7 is 9. All right? So don't confuse yourselves. Just because subtraction is first, that don't mean you always do it first. The only time you do it first is if it's division and you working the problem from left to right. So subtraction does not outweigh division. So therefore, you still got to divide first. And if you do it that way, you'll get 9. And if you verify it in your calculator, it'll be 9. Don't make the mistake of minusing 16 from 14, getting 2, and then dividing 2 by 2, and then getting 1. Wrong answer. So it's just rules and regulations you got to follow when you're doing this order of operation. So finale, we got 48 divided by 6 times 2 minus 7. So now, according to our order of operation, multiplication comes before division, but remember the left to right rule. If division comes first, you have to divide first, okay? So 48 divided by 6 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. And 16 minus 7 is the number 9. So to verify, if you type this in exactly how it was written in your calculator, you should get the answer 9. Okay? This concludes the 8th grade mathematical curriculum course. If you need any tutoring of any magnitude, I can be reached at unityservice216@gmail.com, unitytutors216 on Instagram. Thank you. Y'all have a blessed evening.